In the last part of Exploring Middle-earth, we looked at the history and the culture of the Hobbits. Today we will be exploring the history of the founding of the Shire itself, the homeland of the diminutive ones for nearly 2 millennia. We'll discover the migration of the Hobbits from the Vale of Anduin to making a bargain with the King of Arnor, to its eventual independence and a description of the 4 Farthings and of Buckland. The first recorded sighting of hobbits was in the Vale of Anduin, as discussed during my previous entry on the types and ways of hobbits. After migrating over the Misty Mountains and into Dunland and the surrounding areas, the halflings moved further west, it is believed in order to escape the evil coming from Mirkwood. In 1601 of the Third Age, the Shire was formally established by 2 hobbit brothers, Marcho and Blanco. The lands settled were part of the kingdom of Arthedain, the most important region in the barely unified Kingdom of Arnor, and designated hunting grounds for King Argaleb II. In return for settling the land, the Hobbits agreed to 3 stipulations. 1. The Hobbits had to recognise the lordship of King Argaleb, effectively making the Hobbit population his subjects. 2. That the roads and bridges be maintained. And 3. That the King's messengers be aided on their journeys through the Shire. In acknowledging the King's authority, the Hobbits supplied archers when required in the war against Angmar. The Shire reckoning of the years is based upon the founding of the Shire, so the commonly established year of the current Third Age differs from the Shire year by 1600. The early years of the Shire were not entirely peaceful. Within a few decades of the founding, a deadly plague swept through much of the kingdom, though it was largely spent by the time it reached the Shire, but still not before its effects were felt. The Shire remained strong, but in the year 1974 of the Third Age, nearly 400 years after the founding of the Shire, the Witch King of Angmar invaded Arthedain, the controlling region of Arnor at the time. When the capital Fornos fell, the realm soon collapsed. Within 5 years, the northern kingdoms were no more. But the Shire endured, and became effectively independent. The Hobbits chose a Thane to hold the king's authority within the Shire, with the first being Booker of the Marish. For a while it was the patriarchs of the old Buck line, of which Booker was the first, who held this position. In time, the descendants of this line became the Brandybooks. In more modern times, the position of Thane has been held by the line of Tooks. The current Thane is Paladin Took, but the position has lost much of its former authority and is now largely ceremonial. The Hobbits of the Shire are more democratic these days, and political power is held by a mayor based in the town of Michel Delving. In the power vacuum that followed the fall of Arnor, the Shire was left alone. The lands were not considered a great prize for conquest, and its borders were defended by more than sharpshooting halflings. The Dunedain Rangers, former men of Arnor, also kept intruders at bay. Travellers through the Shire were few, and so the Hobbits remained secluded and largely unknown outside of their surrounding lands. Originally the Shire was bound by the Barranduin River to the east, the White Downs to the west, and the River Shireborn to the south. The land was divided into 4 Farthings. The North Farthing was the least populated, as it was very rocky and is the only part of the Shire that could receive heavy snowfall. It seems that the folk of the North Farthing are not necessarily considered particularly sophisticated, hence Bilbo Baggins' reference to a block-headed brace-girdle from Hardbottle as being someone who is a bit slow on the uptake, Hardbottle being a settlement within the North Farthing. The West Farthing is politically the most important region of the Shire, containing Michel Delving, which is as close to a capital as the Shire has. It also contains Tuckland, which is the home of the influential Tuck family. Hobbiton is also located within the West Farthing, the former home of Bilbo and Frodo Baggins. The East Farthing was originally settled by the Stores, one of the 3 main types of original hobbits who had crossed over from Dunland some 30 years after the founding of the Shire. The folk of the East Farthing, and the Marish in particular, are a little at odds with the larger population of the Hobbits in the Shire. They use unusual words and even differ in their reckoning of the months of the year. This is because they border the Breelands, and it made sense for them to align more closely with the customs of the men, or big folk as the Hobbits call them, of Bree and the surrounding lands in order to deal with them. The Marish, a significant area within the East Farthing, is known for being very muddy, and so you see more than the usual number of hobbits wearing boots. Finally, the South Farthing is known for the quality of the pipeweed it produces, being the first region of the Shire where it was grown some 1,000 years after the founding of the Shire. The area most suitable for growing the best pipeweed is Longbottom, a village occupied by the Hornblowers and sheltered in a valley. The West, East and South Farthings all join together at a point marked by the 3 Farthing stone. The North Farthing borders only the West and East Farthings. The Hobbits later expanded across the Anduin, which the Hobbits named the Brandywine, into Buckland, which borders the Old Forest. As this area was not part of the original Shire lands granted by the King, Buckland has not been an official region of the Shire at this point. It was founded by the Old Bucks, who changed their name to Brandybuck in order to reflect their position next to the river. A home, called the Brandy Hall, was built to house the blossoming Brandybuck family. As the family grew, so too did Brandy Hall. Buckland, and most especially the head of the family known as the Master of Buckland, became very powerful and even gained influence within the East Farthing. And that is the story of the founding of the Shire and a brief subsequent history. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and comment below, subscribe to the channel for regular Lord of the Rings content, and share with others who may also be interested. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.